Welcome, guys. If you're new here, I am Sharak.
And I'm Ezu. You can call me Ed, but friends call me Ezu. And welcome. And if you're been a while listener for a while now, we started back in January. We appreciate guys. Thank you so much. We're building up our true crime community here on this channel. We
Yes.
appreciate it. Studio 70. But before we get started and talk about what's going on today,
Yes, but this is for education and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to others, friends, family, strangers.
everywhere. And you guys have been so awesome and positive to us in our chats
Yes, we love the
and
comments. We would like to have
comments.
that continue to
Awesome.
come in.
Keep it going. So let's get right to it today.
Yes.
So today we're doing a reaction. We do some of these because when we introduce new cases, there's been a lot of great people putting a lot of work into these, and instead of reinventing the wheel, we want to go back and just kind of react to this. We're going to try very hard not to talk during what they're saying. We will pause, but the pause is necessary because we have to give our own unique creative part of this commentary to make it our own. So we will do that. In today's episode, we're talking about Drew Peterson's case, and it's about his son breaking silence on his crimes. So that's really important one.
Yeah,
And it's a
that's a good
Dr.
one
Oz,
too.
as you can see. We tend to do a lot of Dr. Oz because we just love his format. I think he does a great job.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Might
talk
see
about
some
today.
others in the future, but
Yeah,
now it's Dr.
our
Oz.
reaction's good to start with because we introduce the case, and then from there we can always break it down later.
And do a deep dive later. Yeah.
Yeah, and we always find out too if you guys are even interested in this. It's how we get to know if you're even interested in this case. So let me get everything settled here. Ready? Yep, we are ready to go. So without further
Let's do
ado,
this.
let's start it.
Today, an Oz True Crime exclusive. You all remember the story. A police officer from the Midwest, one wife murdered and one wife missing. I'm talking about Drew Peterson. Today, for the first time ever, two sons of convicted wife killer Drew Peterson are doing an interview together. They're revealing all about their dad, the shocking crimes that almost tore their family apart, and the health challenges they faced because of the trauma they endured. Crime correspondent Melissa Moore knows exactly what the Peterson sons have gone through. She's the daughter of the happy-faced serial killer, Keith Jesperson. She spent a lot of time with the Peterson family. So what is it about Drew Peterson and his family's plight that has captured the nation's attention so much, so frequently?
Well, on the outside, they're a big, beautiful family. Everything seems normal. The father is a strong leader in law enforcement just outside of Chicago. But then he's convicted of killing his third wife, Kathleen Savio, and his fourth wife is still missing, leaving 6 children to pick up the pieces.
So let's take a look back at the shocking case of Drew Peterson.
Drew Peterson first made worldwide headlines in 2007 with his unusual behavior during the disappearance of his much younger fourth wife, Stacy. But it was the suspicious death of his third wife, Kathleen Savio, that would ultimately put the retired police sergeant in prison for murder.
The former police officer convicted of killing his third wife.
Convicted of killing his third wife and suspected of killing his fourth wife.
An unlikely twist to an all-American beginning. Raised in Chicago, Peterson was a high school athlete who joined the Army after graduation. He then married the girl he'd taken to senior prom before becoming father to 2 small sons and police officer of the year in Bolingbrook, Illinois. But Peterson was also a serial womanizer and
So I'm gonna stop it right there. So Shirak, I know she mentioned, oh, this family seemed to be totally normal, and then everything seemed to be great, and then something happens. But however, you notice that they talk about, as they're just about to say now, he's been like a womanizer. He's had all these wives. There are some missing things. So I'm wondering when that really timeline started. Was it really truly all like a great kind of family, or were those signs there all along? And it's everybody's interpretation, and sometimes they do to protect. So I'm just really curious.
Yes, I am as well. Because he's been married and then he's been married again. And, he is a officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
So
that
some
has
things can be buried.
exactly because you want to have that officer shine. And I want to use the word privilege on that one.
Yeah, and brotherhood, and we're not saying all police officers do this. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, there theoretically, allegedly, could be things that happened in the past that weren't brought to life.
Yeah, it's just buried.
His first marriage ended in divorce, something that would become a pattern. After another divorce, he married Kathleen Savio. They had 2 more children and an allegedly violent household. Police were called nearly 20 times, but Peterson's rank as a police officer shielded him from justice.
So that's interesting. That was,
20
I didn't watch
times, you
this
hear
yet.
that?
So that's exactly what I just said. And see all those violent times. So when was it supposedly happy? How I don't buy
disagree
that.
with that,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, good.
3 months after their divorce, Kathleen would be found dead in a waterless bathtub. Her death initially ruled an accidental drowning. Stacey Ann Kells would be Peterson's next wife, 30 years his junior. Together they had 2 children and a rocky relationship. In October of 2007, 4 years into their marriage, Stacey would go missing. Peterson would claim she left him for another man. But her disappearance renewed interest and unanswered questions surrounding Kathleen's death.
Savio was killed in 2004, her death in a bathtub staged to look like an accident. Her case was reopened after Drew Peterson's 4th wife, Stacey, disappeared in 2007. Peterson was charged and in 2012 convicted of Savio's murder.
He remains in prison today, leaving behind 6 children to pick up the pieces of their shattered family and lives.
Drew Peterson's son Tom is joining us in his first ever television interview. I know this is difficult, and thank you for being here. And Melissa's been through it, so she'll be here to support you.
All right, before we get started there, so we just got to the end of the complete background story. Shrock, I'll start with you first. Any comments before we start into this more further?
Well, we know that he started out as maybe being kind of not. I know they used the word like he was a good guy, and then all of a sudden something went wrong. I think he always had this in him from the beginning. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just people, not to use, no pun intended, but shield him
And
from
that's what
a
they
lot
used
of
the word.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be interesting to see what the son has to say about his father, etc.
Doing okay?
I'm doing fine.
Right. So you were 11 years old when your mom, Kathleen, was found dead. What did your dad tell you happened to her?
Well, I mean, we were at his house for the weekend. He was going through a divorce at the time, so we split time between houses. So I was at his house for the weekend, and he just took my little brother and I upstairs, and he told us, yeah, your mother passed away, and he was really torn up by it, and I really didn't know how to process it at that moment, but it slowly dawned on me that like the gravity of what had actually happened, and it just didn't seem believable for the first few moments, but yeah, I mean he told it to us that your mom had passed away, and I don't know.
And what did he tell you happened to your mom, Kathleen?
So we would learn over the coming days that she had slipped and fallen in a bathtub, and it never occurred to me whatsoever that he had anything to do with it, at least at the time.
How did you cope with the loss of your mom? Here you are, not even a teenager yet.
Yeah, so it was, I don't know, a lot of it was just processing. I think the hardest part really was like the moments going to bed where it was just me alone with my thoughts. It really dawned on me that like I wasn't gonna have a mother anymore. Like this was it. Like I would have to live the rest of my life without a mother, and just that it hurt more than anything else. I mean, even.
Sorry, I was trying to pause at a good spot. I'm going to look it up, Chirac. I wonder how many people die of a slip and fall and hitting their head or dying from a bathtub incident. I don't mean drowning. I mean literally just slipping and falling, and
And
it's
I
gotta
don't
be
even know if they
very
did a great
low.
investigation on that one. And they, like you said, they've been sweeping everything under the rug. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I'm gonna as we're watching this, or I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna look it up and I'll let you guys know.
Even to this day, with everything that's happened, like nothing was worse than that moment.
What was life like at home with your mom and the dad, at least before the divorce? I understand there was a fairly volatile relationship. What did you hear? What did you see?
I mean, from what I remember, it was a very ugly process. Like people trying to, take funds from one another, and there was a moment where, I don't know, probably out of bad taste, my dad had brought my stepmother Stacy over to the house, and they got in a little tussle, and there was, you had me up on, testifying on behalf of my mother, just trying to like, give her case and why, she was innocent in that case. So it was definitely like rough seeing that back and forth. But I mean, in the house, I never saw anyone hit anyone else. It was always just like these verbal fights, and people just separate themselves. But
It didn't seem violent.
no, it didn't. It didn't.
So, at age 14, so 3 years later, your father remarries, and 3 years later, his new wife goes missing. What did you think happened to her? Did you ever ask your father?
So at the time when that happened, it was very much they were also going through a tough time, on their own. And I kind of felt for Stacy as well, because she had lost her sister to cancer at the time. So she was very unstable about that. I feel like if I'd lost any of my brothers, I'd be, that would hurt me a lot. So I remember one day, I was woken up one morning and said like, hey, your mother ran off. She's going to be gone for a few days, or I don't remember exactly the words, but it was, she's going to be gone for some time. And I thought, okay, sure. She ran off with something. And the story that he gave me was, yeah, she ran off with another man. And I saw like, other men around. So maybe not necessarily with her, but the story made sense to me. Like, oh, okay, this makes sense. She's like taking some time to let off steam. But when I heard from the rest of her family that no one's heard from her, I thought, okay, well, maybe she like is really just trying to separate herself for a while. And then the news truck started showing up, and then my mother's family started showing up, and it just became like this crazy situation, which it didn't make sense to me at the time. Like, no part of me thought like, okay, why is this happening right here? Why? Like, I didn't understand.
When she was your mom for 3 years, was that a good relationship?
It was, oh, man, it was one, like, you couldn't ask for a better mother at the time. I mean, from an 11-year-old's, 14-year-old's standpoint, like, she was loving, caring, she was fun, she always took us out to do things, she was always there for us. She supported my brother, Christopher, and myself, as well as, like, her 2 children that she has. So she was, I mean, she really gave her all to the family.
That's really cool, because you don't find that. A lot of these cases, you actually, we were listening to one, we won't give it away, about how the stepfather or whatever, some of them are very creepy, or there's some other issues, or sometimes it plays very much a role.
Yeah,
in
but she
place.
was really
So,
young too.
yeah,
So
but it's refreshing to
yep,
know
exactly.
that,
And she probably
she
looked
was
like she
really
was more like a big sister to me. And
Yeah,
listening to
probably.
some of these, she like she had that big sister. So, so that was more than a mom.
Okay, let's keep going.
So it was a fantastic relationship. It was wonderful.
So just get the audience involved. So Drew Peterson's 4th wife, Stacy's never been found. Drew was convicted of killing his 3rd wife. That's Tom's mother, Kathleen. Now, you've maintained your dad's innocence through this entire process. And do you still believe your father is innocent of what he was convicted of, or at least innocent in the case of the 4th wife, Stacy?
So this is where things get a little bit tricky, because I mean, throughout the proceedings, I held my dad's innocence. I thought, okay, I know what I saw throughout the situation. I know what I felt when I went through these situations. And no part of me thought like, okay, maybe, something doesn't feel right about this. But after he was found guilty, I mean, I remember that moment like it was yesterday. It was like one of those like really scary moments where like, yeah, like enough evidence is amounted such that like in the court of law, they could prove him guilty that he actually did this, murder in the 1st degree. So that was a really scary situation that really messed up with my belief system. I thought, okay, like maybe I need to like really re-examine this. I'm sure that if I were to spend a lot of time around one family, I'd believe, yeah, sure, yeah, he's innocent.
But you know your father at least as well as anyone else alive now. Do you think he killed his 4th wife, Stacy?
That's tricky. I mean, going back to what I hear, I mean, there's certainly a lot of evidence, based on what people talk about that.
Based on what you feel.
So that's the thing. He's probably conflicted because he doesn't want to know. He's like, I'm hoping it's not true, but it looks like everything is pointing to it.
Yes, exactly.
Just a quick thing. According to the Centers for Disease Control Prevention, CDC, unintentional falls resulted in approximately 36,000 deaths in the United States in 2020. So this is a 2020 number. While this number includes all types of falls, a portion of these would be the falls in the home, including the bathroom. So I have to break it down further, but it was more than I thought. I have to get more statistics on it, but I thought that was interesting. Sorry.
Mm.
All right, put that away.
You also gotta look at that deeper because it could be age too. Like
Yeah, yeah. Or when you're older, of course, if you're
people
older,
falls more
exactly.
than younger,
Exactly. You need
and
to
she was not that old, so.
break down the data.
Do you think your father killed Stacy?
Well, I guess based on what I feel, yeah, sure, he's a guilty guy.
interesting.
But what do I know? As I could only go off of what I've made the decision to go off of what I know and what I've seen. And based on what I know and what I see, on principle, I can't say that I think he's guilty. But on what I feel, yeah, there's a really good reason to put him up for it.
Melissa, you had to struggle with this in your own family.
Right.
I mean, do you love your dad? You obviously still love your dad, no matter what the press, the media says about him.
Yeah.
How did you make sense of this in your own life? I understand the wrenching feeling that someone so dear to you might be a monster.
Absolutely. Like, to wrap your mind around it, the person that was your father playing with you, how could he be capable of this? For me, I was 15 when my father was convicted and charged with multiple murders. And there was lots of evidence in my dad's case, and even his own admittance. Like, he said he killed these women, where in your case, it's not that way.
You still have a relationship with your dad?
I do.
So you visited him in prison, or you talk to him on the phone, or write letters?
So over the years, I've been able to talk to him on the phone, write him letters. Just recently, I've been able to visit him in his facility, so I'm able to see him, talk with him person to person, much like we are right now. Hug him. I mean, he looks like Father Time now. Prison has had a rough effect on him for sure, but we still talk about normal things.
So when you're sitting opposite him, when he was hugging you in prison, did you feel safe with him?
I did. Yeah, it was the same feeling that I've always felt. It's like, how could I think anything else?
Except that he's innocent.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom, did you ever confront your dad about this? Have you ever just confronted him?
That's a question I've never been able to bring myself to, because what options do I have?
Finding the truth.
Exactly.
Especially if you cared so much about her.
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense.
I would definitely ask.
I think he's so afraid to find the truth. I think that's why he's saying, well, my feelings and the evidence is, I think he just doesn't want to know deep down.
Yeah.
Something is weird there. That's but anyhow, something that's less weird. Let me just switch over. If you guys like what we're doing so far, that we're introducing these cases, or you checked this out before, please make sure you take time to subscribe. It really, really helps us out a lot on everything. And we introduced a while back our memberships. And what you do is you go to where it says view channel, and then up on top there, you can see where it says join. You just click that. And we have two tiers. We have one where you get early access to our episodes, loyalty badges, custom emojis, and then another one where you get all that, plus regular member shout-outs, special ones, and then member-only like communications with updates that only you guys would know, the members of that level, and photos and stuff like that. So just really quickly, we want to say that we really appreciate you guys, our support, and we want to keep going on and doing more and more great things or good things. We're attempting to be better all the time. So thank you. Now let's continue.
He says, yes, I did it. Now what am I? I'm a liability, right? Which is a very scary thought to have, and it's very scary to share with your audience right here. But if he says no, then, what do I say to that? Like, of course he is, of course. And now we're back to where we started. So
I understand that all your siblings share your openness to his innocence. How has that been? If your siblings think he's guilty, you're leaning towards innocent, how do you guys reconcile?
So I would say that our relationship is not defined on what my dad did. I would say that our relationship is defined by what we became as a result of it, how we stick together and move forward.
It's very wise, very wise. Coming up, Tom's brother, Stephen, is going to join us. Why he thinks his dad is guilty. Stay with us.
All right. So before we get into that, so it's a great time to pause. And we're trying very hard not to interrupt everything. But any comments up to this point?
No, this is just a good case, and is like they have the insight that we don't. So some of them think he's guilty, some of them think he's innocent. But he made up some good points. Should he ask his dad? His dad may lie. His dad may say no, or
It's true. Like, even if he said, no, I didn't, but there might, sometimes when you're with somebody that close, like your
Mhm.
parents or your siblings, sometimes you get to know, sometimes, not all the time, that when they're lying,
right,
but sometimes it may be worth asking because maybe that person wants to confide in somebody and they love
right,
and
sure,
trust too.
yeah.
So I don't know. You would think that would at least come up once, but I just found that interesting. All right, let's finish out here.
Today, it's an Oz exclusive. Convicted killer Drew Peterson's two sons, Tom and Stephen, are here in their first ever interview together. Stephen is Drew Peterson's son from his first marriage. Thank you very much for coming here. I know that you've been through a lot. How's your mom doing, by the way?
My mom's good. She's happy, healthy, and one of the things about her I like the best is that she's actually taking the kids on like grandkids. She doesn't get enough credit for that.
She's
And
probably
so, if
glad
I could
that
thank
she
her for
divorced
that.
him.
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
As a grandfather, it means a lot.
Yeah.
So if you made just to be able up to date, after Drew Peterson was convicted of murdering his third wife, Kathleen, and sent to prison, Stephen moved into his dad's home to raise his four younger siblings. He still lives there today. That must have been difficult for you.
Yeah. You're pretty much uprooting your whole life and starting over. And now I went from having one kid to 2 months later having 5.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. You were a young father at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people like me question why you? Why were you chosen to raise your younger children, your younger siblings rather? Why not another member of the family?
it was as simple as he asked me to. Throughout this whole thing, he said, if anything ever happens to me, would you, take the kids? I said, absolutely. And so I made that decision early on, and, I'm happy I did it.
There were big ramifications, big prices that had to be paid. You lost your job as a police officer. Did you ever resent being called upon by your dad to raise Tom and the other siblings?
Not once. The way he got me involved in everything, that's what I resent. The letting me raise the kids has been a blessing, and I'm happy. I'm happy I get to do it.
When you say he got you involved in everything,
So immediately he came over, asked me to hold on to some money, or just in case something happened to the kids, or it happened to him, I could use it for raising the kids. And then he asked me to hold on to some of his guns before they went through his house and did, searched all the search warrant, all that kind of stuff. And I was a police officer, and he was a police officer, so never in a million years did I think he would, do anything that would, lead me astray or get me in trouble. And so, happily I did it for him.
and what happened because you did that?
My boss at the time, my chief at the time, turned it into something it wasn't. I turned him in right away. It wasn't like I lied about him or hit him. My boss, made up a different story and had me terminated.
Story being, you must have known.
That's tough.
Yeah, that is.
And by the way, guys, I don't think you guys can hear it, but we're recording this on July 4th, and there's fireworks going off. I know they probably can't hear it, but we can kind of feel them. And so I hear some booms, but I'm sure between the
I
audio,
do
you guys
apologize for that.
a little
We just
distracting.
diligent,
Uh-huh.
working like always. We love our
Well,
job.
I felt bad. Yeah, absolutely. I really feel bad for this guy that he lost his job, but yeah. But in one way, now I don't mean to sound really tough on him, but in one way, if there is an investigation, but he did turn it over right away. Maybe this is before all that, but still, I don't know. It's tough because when somebody says do something like that, it's your
Exactly.
father, but on the other hand, you gotta do what's you should know better what's right and I don't know. It's hard. It's almost say it's difficult.
Known something, because why else would you have his guns and his money?
Exactly. He was telling me I was hiding evidence, and again, these are rifles that never in a million years would have been used in any crimes.
Tom, I don't know if you're aware of what your brother was going through, but what do you think about what he did for you and your siblings? Actually, tell your brother.
I mean, he was really handling it in stride, like really like a pro. Like he didn't seem to break down from any of it at all. But like you really run into someone that's able to give up everything for someone else, like let alone my brother, my other siblings, and that's exactly what he did. So not only did he take care of everyone, he made it possible for me to do what I needed to do to move forward in my life. And the way he did that for Chris and for my other two siblings as well. We easily could have been like a statistic. Like we easily could have been like a part of the kids that lost their parents and then grew up to be criminals. Like no, like I think everything, because he gave up everything to care for us. Now there's 4 individuals in the world that are going to do really, really great things because he cared for us when we needed it most.
That's awesome.
You seem to love him a lot.
Yeah, he's good. He's a great brother.
What does that mean to you, Stephen, to have Tom tell you about how you changed his life and in some ways made him who he is now?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Being appreciated for everything you sacrificed and done. It's nice to hear.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear. And then we come back to this issue of your dad's guilt, and I respect the fact that you're upset about how he set you up. Is that part of the reason I understand you believe he's guilty?
I really don't think that specifically played into it. I think it was just a matter of over time. You hear enough. The police are telling you one thing, witnesses are saying other things. You kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you make your judgment on what you think. I don't think. It started off like everybody's. No way, he didn't have anything to do with it. Stacy ran off. That's what we all believed. And it's just like I said, over time, now she's not coming back. You kind of will start to wonder what's happening. In this day and age, you can't disappear. It's hard to disappear unless something's happened to you.
And I'm wondering too, we'll wait and see. I wonder if Dr. Oz is going to ask him the same question as did his brother. Did you ever ask? Let's see. No.
So I think it was just a matter of time, and you kind of accept it after a while.
Do you have any relationship with your father now? Do you visit? Do you call? Do you write? It's
very minimal. It used to be 2 phone calls a week, letters, we sent pictures, and then it just became kind of, he's always asking me to do favors, call this person for him, do this, I need you to put money in someone else's account, stuff like that, and it just became a headache just to even want to talk to him, because I know I was going to be, required to do more, as if I wasn't doing enough already. Mm-hmm. And then over time, he just kind of changed his tone with me. Because I don't know if it was an interview I did or what it was, but, because I wasn't defending him, 100% or like he wanted or expected, it kind of changed the tone. So our relationship has dwindled, and now it's a letter here and there, maybe an email, but it's not what it was.
Can you address a lingering rumor? Some will argue that you know more about what your father did than you're letting on. What do you say to those people?
First, I say I don't. And second of all, I say I wish I really did know more. Because with that, I could give closure to the kids. Not only Tom and Chris, but the 2 little ones, Anthony and Lacey. I could let them know what happened. Because right now we're all sitting not knowing. And it's just so much uncertainty, and that's having such an effect on everybody. So again, I wish I did know more.
I heard the name Lacey. I wonder if the name was picked out of Lacey Peterson from Scott Peterson. Did you catch on to that?
Yep, I did.
So that's interesting. I'd be curious to see if that
Maybe
was
some type
done.
of relationship.
Yeah. Or if they did it like thinking, oh, that might be a nice name in honor. I don't know. That's interesting. All right. We're pretty much at the end here. Actually, I looks like, let's see what else is said.
Thank you for.
Yeah, look at that. It was perfect timing. I didn't even
Yeah,
That was okay.
that's
So let's go
perfect.
back to our big screen here. Sorry, guys. Here we are. All right, here we are. So you get first dibs on what your complete reaction to this episode.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of loopholes here. And when he came to his son and said, "Can you hold this?" I think I would at that point I would have said, "Why?" And like he went to his son and said, "Can you hold this?" Like you're officer too, and officers you do investigation, right? So why you didn't investigate your own dad? That's what my curiosity is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Um.
he would investigate his own dad, but he didn't. He held his gun, his money. That's suspicious right there. What you think?
So, yeah, I think the same thing. I mean, you kind of know if he says to you, "Hey, can you hold on to this stuff?" and money too. It just being a police officer, you should know, like,
Mhm.
okay, I don't hold on. Whatever you got going on, I don't want to know. It's interesting how Dr. Oz didn't ask the older one. Did
Right.
he ask his father? Did he do it?
Mhm.
I was hoping for that. That didn't happen. But yeah, I just think
But he said no, he
I
definitely
don't
didn't.
know if he necessarily. That was kind of a big thing for him to lose his job. I would assume there had to be some kind of, well, there should have been an investigation, but I don't. I'll
I think they probably
I
was,
have plenty
and
of friends. I'm gonna ask them. I got plenty.
oh
If we
yeah.
do another episode on this, I'll try to remember to ask them about this and what they think in terms of what they see in the local and the state police. So
Well, if you think about it, if you go into his house and you see his father guns there and money, like what are you, accomplice?
yeah,
You
but
know,
he did turn it over right away. But to your point, that's not the point. It's a
mm,
point he should have known better.
he turned it over.
But
Yeah.
if they do an investigation and find out that, you know, there was no connection, why, I don't know. To fire him, I'm not sure if it would have gone that far. I'll ask my officer friends and see what they think.
Yeah.
But I think this one might be one where we could definitely deep dive into it, especially the two
Yeah, with
women,
Stacy. Yeah, yeah.
both because she's missing, and we definitely could. But that's if you guys want us to. We do these reactions to kind of most of the time to start off a new case to
Mhm.
get some kind of thought with you guys if we want to move forward with it and deep dive further. So let us know what you think
Right. So where's
in the
Stacy?
comments.
So this is a good one to do a deep dive in if necessary.
Yeah, if necessary, if you guys are interested. But if we're not, we're gonna go to the community first and see what you guys think, because we have a few of them that we want to maybe circle back to. But
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for hanging in there to the end.
Thank you. We appreciate you
We appreciate you guys
guys.
more than you know. And we're a team here. And, going forward, you got to check out our main episodes that we do. We create on Thursdays, usually coming out.
Yes.
And we have going to have a whole AI panel. You're going to have to check it out. And until next time,
Studio 70.
we'll see you.